Imagine you have Hollywood at your command. Introducing Flow Evil.
Red cheese, gold rings, all black, everything creeping through the night.
Anywhere you are,
Big girls don't scream hard like Halloween, make me feel alive.
there's a world of entertainment here, and you run the show. Flow Evil.
12 million Africans were enslaved and trafficked. More than 2 million of our ancestors died at sea. The ocean holds stories that haven't been told.
This is ground zero for the whole transatlantic slave trade.
The story of the slave trade is world history.
It's not something unique to America. It was a worldwide phenomenon.
My name is Arlene Hall, and my business is Island Organics, soap and candle manufacturing company. We create handmade organic skincare, bath and body care, organic candles, and other body supplies. About 5 years ago, I experienced something with one of my daughters who had gotten psoriasis, and I thought of all the things we can do to help her. So I wanted to use bush medicine on her skin and thought of a way that I can incorporate it in something that she can use every day. And I discovered soap making, and that's how Island Organics started. Because of that grant from Invest TCI, I was able to do a lot of the things I wanted to do to expand the soap business. The rewarding part is actually hearing the stories from the customers who've used our products. I would say, take the leap, get your business license, get all of your ducks in a row, and go and make the application, because they make it as simple and as easy, and they actually help to get you through the process of obtaining the grant. So it's been a dream, and it's been very easy. So I would say go ahead and provide all the information that's necessary and apply for the grant.
Good morning to everyone, and a happy National Youth Day to all of you joining us this morning. I hope you're awake and that you have shaken off the cobwebs, because this session is going to be full of gems and takeaways to ignite your entrepreneurial passions and talents. My name is Omega. I'm the owner and director of SOS Media, providing marketing, public relations, and social media management to businesses and influencers. I'm also a radio personality and currently the host of the Breakfast Club show powered by SOS Live on Smooth 88.1 FM. And I am oh so excited and privileged to be your moderator for this session. This is going to be one that is enjoyable for all of the panelists, all of the attendees. I hope that you came ready to jot some notes down, or you just put them directly into your device. We also want to make sure that you feel comfortable engaging, dropping your comments in the chat. Get used to using those ones on your keyboard, because we're going to want you to use your ones to express a round of applause or anything else that we ask of you during the session, just to make sure that you're alive and kicking and that you are hanging in there with us. I want to give a huge thank you to both Flow and Invest TC for, of course, being pioneers and deciding to do this. This is something that I think is very timely. And of course, when it comes to talking about entrepreneurship, it's always a conversation that I want to be a part of. So if you're as excited for this session as I am, start dropping your ones in the chat and let's get ready to go, all right? If you have some people that you wanted to make sure are joining the session today, make sure you send them a message, remind them that the session is on today, and let them know that we're about to get started and they definitely don't want to miss a minute of it. Now I'm going to invite the Honorable Minister of Youth and Education, Honorable Karen Malcolm, to open her microphone and also her camera. She is going to bring brief remarks for us and get us started. Keep dropping those ones. Let us know that you're out there. If you happen to not be joining us from here in Turks and Caicos, but you're joining us from somewhere else, let us know that as well. We would look forward to being able to say hello to you wherever you are. And we want you to stay in tune with what's going on in the chat area, because the managers at Flow are going to be doing some very exciting things and asking you some great questions. And we want to make sure that you're tuned in and ready to give your responses, all right? We also are going to give you an opportunity to pose questions to all of the panelists at the end of their chats with you. So we want you to stay engaged, stay focused, and make sure that you get your questions in. I see Philvitra Robinson is joining us from the UK. Welcome to you this morning, and thanks for sharing that with us. All right, anybody else from outside of the Turks and Caicos Islands, definitely let us know where you're tuning in from. And again, don't forget to share this link and make sure that people know that this is a session that they won't soon forget, and they definitely don't want to miss it. Now, do we have the Honorable Karen Malcolm ready? Are you with us?
Yes, I am. Good morning.
The mic and the camera is all yours.
Can you? Okay, great. So you can hear me. Before I bring my brief remarks, can I just say a prayer for the youth of the Turks and Caicos, please?
Absolutely.
Let us pray. Father God, as we come together this morning, we want to give you thanks and praise that we are in the land of the living. Father God, we pray as we celebrate this Youth Day that your Holy Spirit will encamp around about us and keep us from all harm and danger. We pray a special prayer for the youth of this nation, Turks and Caicos, and indeed the world. We ask, Father God, that your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And as we go throughout this session, Lord God, we know that you are in the midst of this, and we just give you thanks and praise that we can share with the youth of this nation, Lord, all that you have blessed others with. So we give you thanks, we give you praise. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Good morning, everyone. It is indeed a pleasure, a privilege for me to be in this session this morning. And as the Minister of Youth Affairs here in the Turks and Caicos Islands, I pause to commend Flow and TC and Invest TC for this valuable undertaking as we celebrate National Youth Day. The theme for this virtual seminar, Igniting Your Entrepreneurial Talents, is timely and critical, especially considering the fact that we are facing an unprecedented time in our lives as a result of the novel coronavirus. This virus has transformed the world and has impacted every fiber of our society. I trust that today's proceedings will provide an opportunity for positive dialogue among the youth and I anticipate that their views will be stimulating and keen insight will be given into the world of business. Educating our youth and providing entrepreneurial opportunities are imperative for the Turks and Caicos Islands development. You are our future leaders, and our government is dedicated to giving you the tools to prepare you to be business owners, enter the workforce, and become contributing members of society and indeed the world. I remain committed to the vision of the Turks and Caicos Islands, that is, to see all young people educated and that all young people are given a fair opportunity to compete locally or on a global stage. I offer my appreciation to all the presenters who took time out of their busy schedules to share their stories with the youth of the Turks and Caicos. Special thanks and best wishes to all who will be participating in this exercise, and I reassure the Turks and Caicos Islands of my government's commitment to all young people of this country. As I close, I leave with you these words from Philippians chapter 4, verse 13, and it states, I can do all things. And I say to our young people, you can do all things through Christ who gives you strength. And I just want to say how proud I am of our local young entrepreneurs. And I know that you will provide our young people with good ideas, good initiatives today as they seek to become owners of their own businesses here in these islands. We know that we are living in a very serious time, and I know that business owners are having their difficulties, but I'm sure that our young people who are so, I know they come up with excellent ideas, and I've noticed that quite a few of our young people have become business owners during this pandemic. So we can do what we've set our minds to do. So I say to us today, let's move forward, let's encourage each other, let's provide avenues for our young people to move forward and do their best here in the Turks and Caicos Islands. So I thank you. I will not be able to join you for the full session this morning, but I will be here for most of it. So thank you again and have a wonderful, wonderful day. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you to you, Honorable Karen Malcolm. Please drop your ones in the chat if you enjoyed her brief remarks this morning. Make sure that we know you can hear us and that you're engaged and that you're out there. We see that one or two of you may still be having a little bit of difficulty hearing. If you are, we're going to suggest that you just quickly log out and log back in, and hopefully that will achieve. We're going to turn the microphone over now to the country manager for Flow in the person. But just before we do, I do want to say to you, Honorable Karen Malcolm, that we are so blessed to have had you open up for us today. We know you wouldn't have missed this for anything, but we want you to know that your passion for the youth is evident, it's infectious, and we're certainly lucky and blessed to have you in this particular ministry leading. We're going to move on now. We're going to keep to this tight schedule that Flo has me on today. And so I want to introduce to you Joanne Mizik. And before you take over the microphone and open up your camera, Joanne, I also want to extend congratulations to you personally for your ascension into this role. And we hope that you're enjoying every minute of it. We see the things that you're doing, and we are certainly enjoying it and rooting for you. So the microphone is all yours.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much. Protocol already have been being established. Thank you and good morning, everyone. I am Joanne Mizik, Country Manager for Flow Turks and Caicos, a Liberty Latin America company, and I am responsible for overall consumer and business operations. I want to start by wishing all of our attendees a very happy Youth Day and extend my gratitude to this group of astute speakers and our partners, Invest TCI, for their role in bringing to life this one-of-a-kind event. As someone who has taken the helm of a business during one of the most challenging times, and also having led a business sales operation for many years, I understand oh too well the hat many of you are wearing and the feeling and what you are experiencing. I also want to add some light to the negative messaging that has already been circulating via media and other outlets to affirm that all is not lost. And the times that are upon us are calling each of us, despite our age and our circumstances, to be very intentional and very strategic with our resources. And with that being said, today's event aims to help unleash the entrepreneurial talent and capacity that we believe each of you possess. If nothing else, these times have resurrected some dormant talents and even some dormant dreams, and you have been taking up shelf space in your life. My encouragement to you is to give yourself permission to dream again and to position yourself to learn the necessary skills to bring those dreams to life and maybe even revitalize this economy. Your presence here today is a step in the right direction, and we've created this event with each of you in mind. I hope that you enjoy today's proceedings and ultimately enjoy your holiday weekend. Thank you. I'm looking forward to the rest of the sessions, and I'll be here with you all of the day.
Thank you so much for those inspiring words. And just like you, we are all certainly looking forward to the rest of this session. We're going to keep things rolling. I like how everybody is sticking to the timeline. This is going to be amazing. We have one more very special message that we want to start this session off with. And we have the CEO of Invest TCI, Mr. James Bursey, joining us this morning. Thank you so much for being with us. And thank you for partnering on this special initiative for the youth of Turks and Caicos today, well, and beyond, because we do have some out-of-towners joining us, which is a pleasure to see. But without any further ado, Mr. Bursey, take it over. The mic is all yours.
Thank you very much, Omega. Good morning, everybody, and happy Youth Day. Look, I think the one thing that you saw in the little ad that was run earlier, and I hope most of you saw it, is that we at Invest TCI are here to help encourage people to start their businesses, to become and remain entrepreneurs. But as we talk about starting things up, we also have to remember that entrepreneurship is not something that you just do to start. It's something that goes on, and we hope that you become successful, you grow your businesses, and in that success, you have life success also. So one of the things that I can bring to you in the next 2 or 3 minutes is just some of my observations. Prior to being at Invest TCI, I've been a lifelong entrepreneur. I built 2 service companies and a manufacturing company. And I can tell you that there's a couple of things that I learned, sometimes the hard way. And I know the thing about entrepreneurs is it's very hard listening to others because my story is different. I'll tell you from experience, it's not. But what I'm going to basically suggest to you is there are 3 things that if you do these, they will help you. They won't guarantee success, but they'll help. The first thing is read. Read a lot. Find every book, find every online article that gives you a little insight into the world around you, into your business, into your character, into your customers. The other thing, of course, is look, observe. I mean, life is going on all around us, and the most important thing that we can do is observe and find opportunity. I mean, we are in the middle of a phrase. The times they are changing. Whoever would have thought we'd be in another pandemic? Well, that happened 100 years ago, but here we are again. So what I want to try and do is say, look at what is going on around you, try and understand, and in that, you'll find opportunity. It is amazing where entrepreneurship comes from. And finally, enjoy. If what you're doing you don't enjoy, don't do it, quite frankly. But if you like getting up before the sun does, and you like working till the sun sets and beyond, and you can do that 7 days a week and say, wow, I'm having fun, you're an entrepreneur. So with those simple ideas, we hope you have a great day today. We have a wonderful program. Some of my colleagues will also be on to give you some of the nuts and bolts of our programs. But fundamentally, have a wonderful entrepreneurial day. Thank you.
And thank you so much. See, we're not even fully into the session yet, and you're already getting some amazing takeaways. I hope you wrote those 3 points down. Starting with read a lot. We have to get back to it. And if you have never gotten into it, trust me, if you give it a chance, you will fall in love with it. And I certainly enjoy what Mr. Bursey ended with, which of course is if you love what you do every day and you can do it, whether there was money attached to it or not, you're definitely an entrepreneur at heart. I can already see that we're headed in the right direction. This is going to be an exciting time. We want to make sure that you are sharing this link. We are about to go into a quick commercial break so that you can maybe get your water, make sure that you make a call or two, let people know what you're up to right now and that they may want to join. And if you are excited for who's to come after this commercial break, drop some ones in the chat right now. Let us know you're engaged. I want to send a big shout out to Christoph Malcolm, who's joining us from Fort Myers. So if there's anyone else out of town, keep letting us know so that we can shout you out as well, all right? A very, very quick commercial break. We'll be back on the other side. Keep it locked right here. All right, let's jump back in. Thank you so much for sticking and staying with us. And thank you to those of you who have shared the link. I see that we have a couple more people that have joined us. And so we're so excited to have you here. Again, happy National Youth Day to all of you. And I'm so, so excited for this panelist powerhouse that we have here for you today. If you're as excited as me, and not even that elevator music had you dancing just now from excitement, make sure you start dropping some ones and also drop those ones as encouragement for our very first speaker. So I'm going to introduce to you Mr. Walter Gardner. He is an expert in the field of real estate sales and development here in Turks and Caicos with over 23 years experience. He's a developer and he is the director and senior broker of Regency Christie's International Real Estate. He is going to talk to us this morning about basic tools to build your dream. 5 habits to kickstart your dream. And so let's get that camera open and that microphone open. Give him some ones and some thumbs up as he comes to you. We welcome Mr. Walter Gardner Jr.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Omega. Thank you, and thank you, Flo and Invest Turks and Caicos for this opportunity to go ahead and speak to the new and up-and-coming entrepreneurs in the Turks and Caicos. So I'm very privileged for this opportunity, and I want to thank all of you and thank all of you for joining in today. So I'm going to try to be on time because I know the time police, Miss Omega, will be on my case. So let's get right into it. So today my task is to speak to you about 5 habits that you can develop to kickstart your dream as an entrepreneur. Now, as entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs, we all have the dream of owning a successful business. But one thing is true about having a successful business. No one just stumbles into success. Now, I've heard a lot of success stories, but I've never heard someone say, well, you know what? I was on Instagram and I saw something the other day and I implemented it And a couple of days later, boom, my business has blown up and I'm making tons of money and I'm so successful. I have never heard that before. What I've heard is that the path to success requires a series of disciplines and a series of habits that we all need to acquire. And today I'm going to talk to you very briefly about 5 of those habits, which if you learn to implement and steadily utilize in your life, in your professional life, it will help you not just to develop and start a business, but also build a business that will stand the test of time and also stand difficult times as we are in right now. So let me just start and share my screen so you can see what I'm going to talk to you about. Okay, great. So the screen should be shared. So as I mentioned, I'm going to talk about 5 habits that we can utilize to kickstart your entrepreneurial dream. And the first habit is plan ahead. Now, I've been in contact with many entrepreneurs, and some of them, they went to school to study a specific thing. Like a few of them are attorneys, for example. So they went to college, they went to law school, they worked for someone, and then they even started and went ahead and started their own company. And guess what? Within a very short period of time, they closed their business. Why? They said that they learned that after all of that, they didn't like what they were doing, or something happened and they just lost their passion. Now, while everyone is different, a lot of this could have been avoided if they had actually planned ahead. There's a phrase that says, begin with the end in mind. So if they had thoroughly thought out the whole process of what their job and what their career and what their business involved, maybe they could have saved themselves some useful years of going along a certain path, only to realize that they were actually on the wrong path. So here are a few tips for planning ahead. Tip number 1, Mr. James mentioned it earlier. Do what you enjoy. Now, there's a phrase that says, if you do what you enjoy, you'll never work a day in your life. That is not totally true, but it does make the work easier. When you do what you enjoy, your work actually becomes play. And it helps you to make that business more sustainable because you are actually enjoying what you like. The second tip about planning ahead is to create a business plan. Now, many people don't like to create business plans, but business plans are very helpful in that it helps you to forecast and see the pitfalls and the obstacles ahead. It helps you to analyze your competition, the market, and it also helps you to figure out how much capital you're going to need, where you're going to get it from. It helps you to answer the key questions that can help your business continue to be sustainable. And the third point is to set goals for your business. No matter how old your business is, you should always be continually setting goals for it, short-term and long-term. And not only setting goals, you should also try to figure out how you're going to achieve those goals. So that's habit number 1, plan ahead. Habit number 2, think right. Now, starting and running and being a business and being an entrepreneur is very difficult. On top of that, starting and operating a business in a small market like the Turks and Caicos Islands is extremely difficult. Therefore, you have to have the right mindset as you approach it, because it's definitely going to be very challenging. So I remember when I first was considering getting involved in real estate, I was so excited of the opportunity, but I didn't have the right mindset. One of my first things was that, oh, okay, so what I like about this job is that I get to control my time. So I told my wife, hey, so I don't have to go to work from 9 to 5 like I used to when I used to work in the bank. I can just come as I go. I can take long lunch breaks. I cannot go in the office some days. It's going to be great. You know what she did? She immediately corrected me and said, no, you are not going to do such a thing. You are going to treat this new job in real estate as a serious job, just like you did at the bank. You're going to go to work and work from 9 to 5, because who knows, maybe that is the reason why some real estate agents aren't successful. And you know what? She was right. And I thank her because immediately she corrected my wrong thinking. So here are a few tips to thinking right. Number one, believe in yourself. When you are an entrepreneur, very few people are going to believe in you. Very few people are going to believe in your idea. Very few people are going to believe in your business, which makes it more important that you believe in yourself. Number two, be self-motivated. You have to be your biggest cheerleader. You have to always remain positive, and you have to always be enthusiastic. Point number three, visualize success. Now, many entrepreneurs visualize only early in the game. They would visualize opening up their business and getting started, and that would be just it. But visualization is such a powerful tool, we should always be using it. I use visualization a lot in my field. I always imagine myself being successful in making sales, especially when it's difficult to make sales. In fact, I visualize so much that sometimes when I'm in the process of making a sale, I actually have to stop and think to myself, now, am I actually making this sale or am I visualizing it? But seriously, that is what happens because you program your mind for success. You program your mind to filter and block off all of the negative energy, and that allows you to focus and do what you have to do. Habit number three, keep learning. Learning doesn't stop when you finish school. As a successful entrepreneur, you never stop learning, and you shouldn't stop learning. You should always be on top of your game. Successful entrepreneurs are students of their business. When I first got into real estate, one of the established real estate agents was in charge of training me. So he showed me all of the basics, all of the technical stuff. And I kept asking him the question. So yes, I know what an acre is and I know what the attorneys do, but how do I actually sell? How do I actually convince somebody to buy a property? And he would just say, well, you'll pick it up. It'll come naturally. Don't worry about it. So I just paid attention to him. But one day I realized he was carrying around this briefcase. He always carried this briefcase. He never let me see what he had in this briefcase until one day he was at his desk and I saw the briefcase open. And guess what was in the briefcase? Now, for those of you who are very young, you wouldn't know what this is, but it was a briefcase filled with cassette tapes of sales training. Sales training that tells you how to sell. So he still didn't let me in, but one day I had the opportunity and I saw it open again. We didn't have a phone that could take a picture, but I wrote down what it was and I ordered it. And it was a series of cassette tapes that taught you how to sell. And I played those tapes in my vehicle over and over and over and over again. I learned what I had to learn until I was able to implement it. So getting into tip number three, the things you have to do to keep learning is do your research. Don't just run when you see a good product and you run to try to introduce it to the market before anybody else. No, do your research. Make sure it's going to work. Make sure it's going to work here. Make sure that you can get the adequate supply that you have of it very quickly. Try to maybe even see if you can get the patent or the exclusive on the product. It pays to do your research before you go ahead and jump into something. The other point is to be an expert. Like James said earlier, learn as much as possible. Read as much as possible. And if you don't have a lot of time to read, do what I did. Turn your vehicle into your college, meaning play MP3s or CDs or all that sort of stuff that's in your field so that you can learn while you're driving instead of just listening to music, which is not really going to help you in your business. And the third point is to find a mentor. So I recommend that you have at least 2 mentors. Number one, you should get a mentor that is in your particular field, someone who is already doing what you hope to do. Now that could be a challenge here. So one easy place to start, believe it or not, is YouTube. Start following those people on YouTube who are doing what you want to do. Then the other thing that you should do is to get someone who is local in the Turks and Caicos in a totally different business from yours, but as long as their business is successful, they can help you and give you tips and give you a new revelation of what you're doing based on where they're at. Let's move on to habit number 4. Habit number 4 is develop discipline. Now, discipline is one of the most difficult habits to develop, yet it's one of the most powerful and the most rewarding habits. One of my mentors once told me that all persons, everyone, every human being has a choice of choosing between 2 pains that they will experience. One is the pain of discipline. The pain of discipline is the pain and the stress and the aggravation of doing something that you know you have to do to be successful, but you still do it. So that's the pain of discipline. The other one is the pain of regret. Now, the pain of regret is the pain and the frustration and the sorrow that you experience when you didn't do something that you knew that you should do to be successful. Based on that, I live my life. I try to do everything that's necessary, that's going to make me successful, even if I don't like doing it or if I don't feel like doing it. And that is discipline. Discipline is doing what you have to do to be successful, even when you don't feel like doing it. Now watch this. Both the pain of discipline and the pain of regret are painful, but the pain of discipline only lasts for a very short period of time, but the rewards are astronomical. The pain of regret, on the other side, can last for a very long time, and it produces nothing other than more regret. When I first got in the real estate business, there were several young men who got in the business with me, but there are 2 in particular that almost every time I see them, they would say, "Boy, Walter, I regret not sticking in it. I regret not sticking in the business as long as you did, because I knew if I stayed with it, I would have been as successful as you." So that's the point. Do what you have to do. Face the pain of discipline and be prepared for the fantastic results that you will receive. So how do you develop that discipline? Number 1, you focus on activities and not the results. In other words, you focus on what you have to do to make your business successful and not just making the money. When you focus on the activities that you have to do, the results will come. Number 2, be consistent. Don't be good today and so tomorrow, and then the other day you have to be consistent. The market is looking for consistency. Every day you get up, you have to give it your 110%. Do whatever you're going to do to the best of your ability. In fact, the Bible puts it this way: in whatever you do, do it unto God and not unto man, because it's God who will. Hi guys, sorry, I guess I must have lost you. So I'm back on now. Just let me get my screen share back up. Okay, great. So we are still on habit 4, and the last point was hustle. And hustle is what I call consistent persistence. Every day, get out and work. Every day. Do what you have to do, no matter what the circumstances, no matter how you feel, just get out and do whatever you have to do and do your best for your customers. The final habit that you should develop is be flexible. The only constant in life is change. And that is so true, especially in this day and age. To be successful in these times, you definitely have to be flexible. One of the first things, change is often hard, but a lot of times it is a good thing as it stretches you and it actually makes you better. I remember saying to my agents a few months ago, when things were very difficult, I said, don't be fooled. With everything that's happening in this pandemic, if you adjust, things will actually work out to our benefit. Because look at it, we could hardly show any houses. There were hardly any tourists or any buyers on the island. But what we learned to do is to do more showings virtually. So you would go in a house and you'll make an appointment with a client and you'll just either with Zoom or with FaceTime, you would show them the house. And although many people didn't make a move or buy from doing that, as time progressed, people here and people all over the world got used to it. They adjusted. And now, right now, people are starting to buy properties just by seeing a video of the property. It's amazing. And I told them, this is actually going to open up the market to a lot more customers and a lot more sales, whether the pandemic stops soon or whether it continues on for a while. Because now you don't have to wait for customers to come here. Basically, with your phone, you can go to your customers. So that's one thing, you have to be able to adapt to change. Number 2 is be innovative. There's so many things up there, so many different ways of doing things right now. You just can't be resistant to change. One of my daughter's university, they have a phrase. When I saw it, I was amazed, and I'm like, this is true. Basically, their phrase, which is their whole mantra of the school, is if you can't find a way, make a way. If you can't find a way, make a way. So that's what we have to do. We have to be innovative and make a way, because there is always a way. And finally, embrace failure. I have failed many times, a great deal of times. But what I've learned about failure is that it is crucial to success. Failure is mainly this. Failure is feedback. Failure is feedback. It's feedback on what you have done wrong, and it's feedback on the correction that you need to do to make it right. So embrace failure, because every time you fail, you get closer to being a success. So there you have it, the 5 habits to kickstart your dream. Plan ahead, think right, keep learning, develop discipline, and be flexible. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Walter. I have to see those. Listen, clap your hands, put your thumbs up, drop the ones, because I know you enjoyed every morsel of that, just like I did. I'm over here. I'm going to do the snap fingers. That's what I got for you over here. I'm telling you, even though you did say the time police was going to get you, I couldn't even bring myself to interrupt you, because we needed every bit of that. It was concise, but it dropped so many gems our way. And if you guys are big on Twitter, I'm sure you have been live tweeting all of those golden pieces of information he just gave to us, all right? Now, Walter, because you did go a bit over time, I won't do any of the Q&As with you just yet. We do have 2 or 3 questions, and I sure have 1 or 2 of my own, but we'll reserve it till the end, just so that we can keep things rolling. So
okay, great, thank you.
Let's stick and stay, all right? All right,
Yes.
great. Thank you to everyone that is so engaged in the chat. We love seeing your comments. We love when you put your thumbs up just to say that you're in agreement with the sentiments that you're hearing. So keep that up. Don't get tired on us, because trust me, there is more to come. We're going to roll straight into Mr. Wellington Williams, who is going to talk to you about growing your side hustle into your dream business. He almost needs no introduction, so we're going to keep this short. He's the owner of the Wellington Collection, and he's also the male CARICOM Youth Ambassador of the Turks and Caicos Islands, which I just learned because he put it in the chat for us. But we all know that the entrepreneurial bug hit Wellington at a very young age, and he has already just made quite the mark, even as this young gentleman who I'm sure has lots and lots more in store for us in the years to come. Wellington, you have 10 minutes.
Oh.
Rock and roll.
Hello, everyone. How's everybody doing? All right, so I want to first wish everybody a happy National Youth Day. Can everybody hear me? Can I get some 2s if people can hear me? Some 2s if you can hear me? Okay, we got 2, so that means they can hear me. So I'm just waiting on the presentation to come up and we get things going. All right, so I'm gonna go straight into it. And this was a perfect topic for me because it's really and truly my life. It's either I had learned to scale or I fail. And so straight to it, growing with your side hustle into your dream business. So this was the hustle. These were the hustle. So it started at the age of 11. I simply wanted to make sure I can make some money on the side, the legal way. So did a quick market analysis and figured out that these were a huge demand. So it was pretty simple to make. However, it was very, very time consuming, which is what others didn't like, but that was okay to me because I didn't mind sacrificing my childhood time to turn it into labor time to make some money. So little did I know that I would have gotten hooked into jewelry making after I made $250 in one lunch break at the age of 11 in Form 1. That's mind-blowing in my opinion. So how did I do it? It was all sacrifices. I had sacrificed my lunch money as capital to purchase the first batch of material. Can you guys see the second slide? There we go. Yes. So I did sacrifices. I sacrificed my lunch money as capital to purchase the first batch of materials. I can remember it like yesterday. I spent $4 on green beads, $4 on yellow beads, $4 on red beads, $6 on the black beads, $1 for the locks, and $1 for fishing line, which was a total of 20. And that was 4 days of sacrificing of my lunch money to get these done. So it was enough to create 2 necklaces and material that was left behind, and material that was left behind. And with this 2 necklaces that I sold, I made $16. I was able to purchase more black beads and locks because those were the foundations of my work. So I realized that I can make more money by purchasing materials wholesale. So I worked hard enough to make enough money, and I gave it to my mom so that she can buy beads in bulk in the Dominican Republic. So it made my cost significantly lower, but my profits much more, because at the end of the day, I want profit to be more than my cost. And so the cycle had started, and I had a successful business at the age of 11. Pretty impressive in my opinion. So candy venture, it changed. My market had crashed. Market had crashed because the school policy changed. We could no longer wear bingies in school, which means that students would no longer purchase. It was indeed a trend, but new policy killed my market. So what I did was, I was already a business child. I did another market analysis and figured that children love sweets. I had saved from the money that I had saved from my jewelry venture, I gave it to my mom, and then again, she bought me jewelry in bulk. And she bought me candy. She bought me candy that were different and unique from what you would be able to find in other places. So the different names and sizes of the candies opened up the eyes of the customers, so then I became the candy boy from the bingy jewelry boy. It was safe to say that my candy career was successful until I was called to the principal's office and I was told that it's a conflict of interest. I can no longer sell sweets because the canteen sells sweets and they pay rent. So again, my market had died and no other choice but to sell after school hours. Wasn't as good as school hours, but it was enough to still save, which was what I wanted to do. Moving on, I took a business break. So during my last 2 years of high school, I wanted to make sure that I focused because at the end of the day, this is my side hustle and school is my work. So my business resumed back in college where we are all treated as adults and not much rules as high school. So this is where my life just changed forever. There's nothing holding me back at this moment. So moving on, this is before the dream. You can change the slide. I officially started my internship at the West Bay Club. After intern, I was hired as a personal concierge. I split my time hustling on the side and working at West Bay Club, along with finishing up a course that I had actually flunked because I was so determined to finish my studies. So instead of me just saying, you know what, I failed the course, I'm not gonna go back, I actually only accepted the job by allowing me to finish my school and also, you know, my side hustle. And so I split my time doing that, and I was determined to finish my studies. Along with Fish Fry weekly sales, I finally sealed my deal. I finally signed a big contract, in my opinion, which was with Beaches. And so from that, I took the leap of faith and I became self-employed at 19 years of age on December 23rd, 2015. So from Exclusive Accessories, which was my business there, as you can see there, as I did the photo shoot with Raisha, it was Exclusive Accessories then. But then I got the courage from guests that I took pride in serving to, name my business after myself, as all visitors stated that my name was such a nice name. Thank you to my parents. So this was the dream. I changed my entire brand. It became the Wellington Collection after my name, and the logo is my initials, which were Wellington Michael Williams. As I signed my contract with Beaches, the manager told me, you must be able to fulfill the orders, which in my mind means that I needed to be consistent. I learned from a very young age that consistency goes a long way, and quality over quantity is absolutely everything. So being self-employed allowed me to fulfill Beaches and other stores that became distributors of my products. I was a one-man band for quite some time, but I quickly realized that I needed help. So I hired help, as at the end of the day, you can't do it all by yourself, because the end goal is to be successful, which I put together a team. With the team, we were able to fulfill about 12 stores at that time, along with fish fry weekly sales. So scaling, demand grew, and so many was asking if I had a shop. Before I was a one-man band, then I hired help. Then it got more demand. And so people were asking me if I had a shop. I met that demand. My team and I began to create a buzz within the tourist market, a great problem to have, I would say, as long as you can meet the demand. So I got a shop. My team grew, so did my demand, which is why scaling is so important, as each step of the way, you have to learn how to scale. I projected that I would need an extra hand, and the extra hand fit perfectly as I opened my shop and I also began selling internationally. Also grew my team as I now needed to focus on reaching out to more markets and be able to lead my team, as every great team needs a great leader. Next slide. So I started and hit the international market, which in my opinion is where I wanted to be. As I grew my team to manufacture, I was busy out at international markets to grow my business. When you fulfill a goal, you create new ones and keep to strive to grow. So I scaled my business, where it gave me the opportunity to go and represent my brand to get more business, which it worked out just as planned. And the team I had was able to fulfill all new orders that I had gotten from the international trade show. So I projected and I hired enough people so that I can make sure when I grow, scale my business enough where I will definitely be consistent at all times, because it's bad when you get a new account and you can't fulfill it, which means that they will drop you and they will tell others, oh, it's not worth the time. So this trade show is called the Surf Expo. It's a grand expo. It has to do with everything in regards to beach, surf, resorts, gift shops, and water activities. I was indeed stoked, as I was in the same room in hopes to make deals with these multi-million-dollar companies, brands that you'd be like, whoa, I'm in the same room as these people. Indeed, I was a small fry, if not the smallest fry, but I was a force to be reckoned with, as I truly believed in my brand today and forever. Many was impressed about my brand, and safe to say, I had a great first-time experience. So with me scaling, going to international markets, I was able to meet the demands and grow and learn. The international trade show changed my life forever. I learned how to do business, not only like a pop-up show experience, but I learned to do business with multi-million-dollar companies that's there around you. You gravitate to the people when they are looking at your brand, everything you have worked for, and they are there to cherish what you have done. And they're there to tell you like, whoa, like we've never seen this before. Like, where are you from? Like, who are you? Like, tell me about your work. Like, it changes your mind forever. And so today, I am actually scaling. I choose not to share what I'm scaling now because I like to work in silence. Right now, I'm scaling and I'm growing my business to be international, to be a brand that everybody knows, so that when they come to Turks and Caicos, they will already know this brand. And scaling is very important because you do not want to go from 0 to 100. It's very difficult to go from 0 to 100. In my business, I need to teach people along the way how to create my products. It needs to be consistent. It can't be like this today and like that the other day. It just won't really work. And you know, even though you see that I have a brand that is notable in Turks and Caicos, I'll tell you this: I've been through so many no's, so many doors closed on my face. Sometimes it comes from people that you would think, you know, would have your brand at best interest, and sometimes they just shut the door in your face. And you know what? I take it and I use it as fuel to make me keep on going and going and going. Because one thing I like to do is I like to prove people wrong, especially when they tell me no, when I know that I can do it. And so these are pictures of my current store, the Wellington collection. The logo is a form of beach, but it also is my logo, my initials, which is Wellington Michael Williams. And that's the end of my presentation about how I was able to scale and not fail, because at the end of the day, that is not what I'm going to do. Failure is not an option, and it shouldn't be for you either. Find ways. If you can't find a way, make a way, like Walter said. And that's my life of how I do it. And any questions?
Thank you so much, Wellington. We're going to reserve those questions till the end, but we do want you to go ahead and drop those questions in the Q&A section throughout the session. Just put the name of the panelist first that you want to address that question to, so that when we're at the end and we get these questions and answers rolling, we know exactly who to direct those questions to in kind. So we're going to keep it going because we want to give everyone an opportunity to share what they came to share today. I know you have to be inspired after listening to Wellington, because I certainly am. And Wellington, before you turn your camera off, I do want to say to you that I know you've heard it ad nauseum that you are in fact an inspiration, but we can't say that enough. We can't say it enough. So drop some ones. If you're still out there and you're engaged and you are excited about all of the nuggets being shared with you today. And what I'm specifically loving about this is everything that we're hearing is practical. They didn't come to bring fluff. They are bringing you exactly what you need to know. So let's keep it going. We want to introduce now Drexwell Seymour. Drex, go ahead, open up your camera for us. He's a professional accountant, and he has been since 1992. He says that one of his favorite parts of the job is financial planning. He has his own accounting firm, HLB, and that's been in play since 2013. He provides audit, reviews, accounting, financial planning, and corporate services. So this is the type of guy you need to have in your corner when you get your business rolling. The mic is all yours. Teach us your ways. Drex, are you there?
I'm here. I'm just sharing I just want to go and share my screen. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you doing a presentation on financial literacy. And while I'm putting up my screen, please forgive me trying to look for my screen. This is embarrassing, but financial literacy basically is, I think I'm getting my screen right now. It's basically, can you see the screen?
Yes, we can see it now, Drex.
All right. So what is financial literacy? Basically, is having the basic knowledge of managing your finances effectively. A lot of us may have a lot of money and still financially literate, if I could use that word. And some of us may have very little money and they're very smart in managing their finances. I mean, my mom didn't have much money growing up, but I felt that she was very good in managing her money. She was able to stretch her dollar. And the thing I want to stress here is that even though you may have this knowledge about financial literacy, if you don't apply it, then you're not financial literate. That's in any circumstances in life. You might have, knowledge, but if you're not applying it, it really doesn't make any sense. And that's where wisdom comes in. Some people have all the knowledge, but they didn't use anything with it. And so this is what we want to talk to you about. How do you use the knowledge and apply it so that you can be smart in managing your finances? The first thing you need to know is your worth. Okay, what are you worth? And some of you, if you document your worth, you may realize you're worth so more than what you think you are. A lot of us say, oh, I ain't got nothing. I'm not worth anything. And that's because we probably compare ourselves to a lot of people. But if you were to document, your assets and your liabilities, you will realize that you're worth a lot. So what are assets? You might hear this terminology. These are things that you own, such as a house. And it's mostly like things that will last for more than a year. Okay, we're not talking about the low basic stuff like groceries. That's not an asset. These are things that will last for more than a year, like a house, a car, cash, apartments, money you lend to people. Some of you probably have a lot of money outstanding you lend to some of your friends, and that's still your asset. And then you have liabilities. The liabilities are the money that you owe to individuals and companies. Some of you may have bank loans for your homes or your business. You may have a credit card. They are liabilities. So now what you need to do is document this. And if I were you too, the best thing for me, as young as you are, is for you to try and acquire as much assets as possible without any liability. Obviously, if you can afford a loan, then you should get the loan. But it's great if you could build up your financial worth. So when you get older, you have all this stuff that you could retire early and you could do a lot of stuff or reinvest. So let's give an example of your worth. Let's say now that your assets, let's say you have the following assets. You have a house, costs you $200,000. You have a car, that's $20,000. You have some cash in the bank, around $5,000. So you add all of them. You add them together, and you get $225,000 as assets. Now, your assets may even be worth more than that, to tell you the truth, because if you were to do a valuation of your house, you realize that the valuation of your house is worth more than what you pay for it. It may cost you $200,000, to build a house. But by the time you did all the upgrades and you put all the furniture and you paint your house and you do all these renovations, you may discover your house may be worth $250,000 or $300,000. So you're really worth more. Now let's say the liabilities now are the loans. Your loans are $150,000. So we have assets, which we just give an example of $225,000, and then you have the liabilities, which is $150,000. So you're worth $75,000, which is the difference between your assets and your liabilities. Now, obviously, if you didn't have that loan and you had, paid for these things cash, your worth will be higher. The lower your liability, the higher your worth. The liability is reducing what you're worth. And there are some cases where people's liabilities or companies' liabilities exceed their assets. And so they are really in a bankrupt position. They are they're in a negative position. And you don't want to be in that position where your liabilities exceed your assets. That's why it's important for you, to document, your assets. And sometimes a lot of us, we also lie about our assets so we could get a loan or get a credit card. And as a result, we find ourselves sometimes in a bankrupt position because our liabilities are more. And sometimes, situations happen in our lives, such as COVID-19, whereby you're unable to, make your payments, and the interest just keep accumulating, and so your liability end up getting higher. But if you could avoid that, that would be the first step. So the first thing about financial literacy is know your worth, know your assets, your liabilities. And if I were you, I would accumulate as much assets as possible. Now, in doing all of your financial literacy, sometimes we need to be very careful, because sometimes you have money in the bank, you forget about all the liabilities that you have, and you just go spend. You have a credit card, you just go spend the money without even thinking about the consequences. And so you need to prioritize your needs, and you need to question your behavior. Do I really need this? Is this necessary? Do I really need to keep up with the Joneses? Do I have to go to beauty salon every week? Can I afford to have my children in private schools? Do I need to have that particular car? Do I have to take a vacation this year? Do I need this big home or apartment? And these are some of the things that you need to question yourself whenever you decide what is it that you are going after. Another thing you need to be conscious of in terms of financial literacy is the income and your expenses. Now, income obviously is what you make as your gross salary. It's the rental income from your property. That also helps you in determining your financial position. Income is interest income you get from your investment. And then you have your expenses. Your expenses are the things that you do on a day-to-day activity, the things that you need on a day-to-day. For example, you need groceries. You have to pay rent. You have to pay utility bills. Those are expenses. And so this is another area you need to be very, very cautious and conscious of. Don't let your expenses exceed your income. Never let that happen. And it can happen if you're using a credit card. And so you must be able to control the money that you collect, and you probably could put it into different funds. You might have, different bank accounts, and you might have one fund for vacation, one fund for your expenses, but control it. Or transfer the money you need for your expenses into a debit card or credit card and just use that for your expenses. But do not allow yourself to be in a position whereby your expenses exceed your income. Otherwise, you're having a loss. Now, one of the key things in financial literacy, in order to control yourself, is having a budget. It's important for you to have a budget. The budget will determine, it's a tool that you need to discipline yourself, to control your spending habits, so you wouldn't go into that negative position. You don't go into bankrupt if you have this budget and you're following your budget. But even if you are in a negative position, still use the budget to try to get out of that negative position, to bring you back into a surplus. So don't panic if you find yourself in a negative position. A lot of us may find ourselves in that, especially now with what is happening. But it's not the end of the day. It's not the end. It will allow you to, I believe, bounce back. And so what is the budget? You hear budgets all the time. is really to keep track of your finances. It's a guide or a plan on what you expect to receive and how you plan to spend it or save. In fact, some of you have $1,000. You know, if you're making $1,000 a month, I hope you're not, but if you are, or 2,000, whatever, you know, you have a budget, you say, well, I'm gonna put aside this for rent. You know you need rent. You know you need food, okay? So you will make sure cover the basic needs that you have in your budget and stick to it. I sort of covered this earlier. Why do you need a budget? To keep track of finances, to provide a form of discipline and control, to have a plan of excess funds, and to ensure you're able to meet your necessities. And I believe that individuals and companies should have a budget. And sometimes we go ahead and we expend money on things, and we don't, realize until it's too late. Oh my God, I forgot about this. I forgot I had this bill. I forget I had this. And the budget will allow you to keep in track on your spending limits. So how do you create a budget? Record everything you spend, keep track of your spending for the past 2 years, determine the necessities, budget only for that, and you set your goals. You don't need a specific budget tool to develop a budget. You can use Excel, use paper, whatever you use. The important thing is you must have a budget. That's a key ingredient for you to be successful and to be smart in managing your finances. And that's what we say financial literacy is, managing your finances. And one way to do so is to develop a budget. And some of the tips, you be rigid, you stick to your budget, review your budget on a daily basis, especially if you're just starting out. Always having a budget and an element of savings. You must be able to control yourself, spend only what you need. You're gonna see a lot of people doing a lot of marketing stuff. Don't worry about them. You know what your budget is, don't do it. You need to be smart. You need to be smart. Don't worry about what people say about you. Don't worry about people say what you're wearing, what you're eating. That's none of their business. That's your business. You know your financial condition. Nobody else knows your financial condition. You don't need to please anybody. So be content with what you have. Now, of course, I don't mean if you're poor, be content. What I'm saying is don't go above your means, okay? You know the position you're in. Be content in that position until you get better. Don't compare yourself with others and don't try to acquire the same things they did. You don't know how to acquire it. Don't live above your means and discontinue using the credit card. These are the tips that you need to make sure that you are successfully and effectively managing your finances. This is a budget guideline. This is the final slide. This is a budget guideline for some of you. If you don't know how to start and where to start your budget, it's just a guideline. This is particularly for persons who are struggling, who are in a bad position, who needs to bounce back. So if you have your budget, 36% you allocate to housing, 14% on food, 14% on auto, 4% on insurance, 4% on debt repayment, 4% entertainment. You should still go out and entertain yourself. 4% on clothing. You should still put something on savings, medical, dental, miscellaneous, and school child care, 8%. That basically is your budget. And if you use this as a guideline, I personally believe, from my experiences, that you'll be able to become financially literate. Have a wonderful day.
Well, thank you so much, Trex. It's amazing how much you shared with us in a very small period of time. We got so many things out of that, and I see people talking about the fact that what you have shared is as practical as it gets, and they're appreciating you breaking it all down. Someone is saying thanks, and they look forward to speaking with you in the future and for your continued advice. So I know that we're going to have a few questions. We already have one in the Q&A section for Drex. If you think of anything else that you want us to ask him at the end of this all, we want you to go ahead and drop those questions in there right now. Don't forget to also include the name of the panelist you would like the question posed to. All right, watching our time, we're going to keep it rolling, and we have a special treat for you because panelist number 4 is actually a duo, okay? And this is Jermaine and Aisha Laporte, and they've been married for 12 years. They've been blessed with 2 beautiful children. Jermaine is at 48 Bank and Aisha is at Fortis TCI, but they're here today because they're also entrepreneurs, a journey they embarked on back in 2011. They are the owners of Long Bay Express Services Limited, a fuel service station and convenience store. And Jermaine and Aisha say that they seek to positively impact their communities and to glorify God in all they do. They're going to talk to us about partnership and business for better or worse. So jump straight in. The floor is all yours.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Omega, for that introduction. Thank you for having us. We're happy to be here and to share a bit of our story. As mentioned, our names are Jermaine. I'm Jermaine, she's Aisha. We've been married for 12 years, and we are the proud owners of Long Bay Express Fuel Services. And I'm gonna talk a bit about how we got started and our why, because we believe that each entrepreneur, each business owner, especially as couples, we need to share a why. Why did we get into the business? So our why actually started with a personal need that we had ourselves, where once we moved into the Long Bay community around 2010, there was one night when our young son at the time, he developed a temperature, and we actually simply needed some fever meds to treat him, to try to help him to get better. And because of the hour, all of the supermarkets at that time had been closed. And, you know, like we often say around here, wow, you know, someone should open a business or start something where, you know, someone can go later at nights and get some convenient items that are needed. And really and truly, that was where our thought came from. And so Aisha and I put our heads together at the time. At the time, the Long Bay community was also just in its earlier development stages. And we had moved here. And so we decided, you know what? Why not us? Why not come up with something where we can offer the community some services? So we originally thought about a convenience store, and then we had to find something that would complement a convenience store, and pretty much that was where our thought for Long Bay Express came from. So that was pretty much our why we got started. So firstly, we're going to talk about the advantages of doing business together. You can move to the next slide, please. The advantages of doing business together.
Good morning, everyone. So one of the advantages of doing business together is that you would have established trust. And you see that we have here from courtship to corporation. And for us, that established trust would have started 5 years before we actually got into business together. So we started off as friends, and then he courted me. We eventually got married. We had our first child, and then we built our first home together. And over those life experiences, we were able to establish trust, and we were able to prove our trust in each other, that we had each other's backs, and that there was nothing that we would do to harm each other or what we have built together. So for us, it was then easy to transfer that established trust into a business. And when you are doing a business with a partner, it is very important to have that trust.
Absolutely. And, you know, generally, as a couple, we want what's best for each other. So we knew that we had each other's back, because what's best for her is best for me, and it's best for all of us.
Yes.
The next point that we wanted to make was an unlimited opportunities for communication.
So for us, we have here unlimited opportunities for communication. When you're in business with your life partner, you do have that unlimited opportunity for communication. We have here strategize, even during pillow talk. So for us, communication is like oxygen. You know, we talk about everything, and it's very important. And it allows for quicker decision making, quicker problem solving. We can at any time, if we have an idea, you know, quickly talk about it, and we're able to develop it in a quick, I guess, period of time.
It doesn't necessarily have to wait until next day or 8 a.m. the next day, or to set a meeting time. You know, we can capitalize on on that time together and make quick and timely decisions when necessary, you know?
Yeah. So we're able to, I like to think that as I look back, actually, I think that some of our best ideas have come up at midnight, you know, us just lying down in bed and just talking. So that is one of the benefits or one of the advantages that we have of, you know, doing business and being married or being in a relationship.
Absolutely.
Next is we identified the merger of skills and resources. And we are saying here that 2 heads and 2 wallets are better than 1. So we both have different skill sets and different strengths, and we've been able to bring those or marry those strengths and those skill sets together to for the benefit of both our personal relationship as well as our business relationship. Even when we're talking about resources, if 2 persons are able to bring their resources together, that improves on your borrowing power as well as your negotiating power.
Absolutely. I consider myself to be more of a risk taker, and Aisha is actually more of a risk assessor, simply because she has a background in finance and accounting and audit. So, you know, whenever I come to her with my off-the-wall ideas, sometimes, you know, we can sit down, we negotiate, and we decide this may be best or this may not, you know, this may not be the best thing right now. But they really do complement one another. And like Aisha mentioned earlier, sharing, you know, a wallet or having 2 wallets is, it really gives us much negotiating power and opportunities, you know. So next slide, please. So very quickly, we're going to go down to a few lessons that we have found it worked for us, and we thought that it was worth sharing with everyone. The first one is communication.
So just as in your personal relationship and a business relationship, communication, again, is very important. And it can actually be the difference, make the difference between a flourishing personal and business relationship or a failed one. So it's important for the communication to be honest, to be open and timely or early. You shouldn't allow issues to fester and boil up, you know, to the point where one day it eventually explodes. And it's important to celebrate your wins together. Assess what did you do well together and how you can capitalize on that, as well as to talk about the failures and the things that you did not do so well and how you learned from it. Can you press enter one more time for us, please? 2 more times, maybe. Yes.
Perfect. And the next point is to separate business and personal finances. Our ultimate goal is to grow the business to ensure that it thrives. And we want to set an example for our children and ultimately our community. So what we try to be as disciplined as possible. Earlier, Walter in his presentation mentioned discipline. And we don't want to do anything to take advantage of the business finances simply because we are the owners or because we have access to those finances. And this helps us to develop our discipline in growing the business. As Walter mentioned, discipline is simply something that you know you need to do to be successful, even when you may not feel like doing it. So what as Omega mentioned earlier, we do hold full-time jobs, and we do our best to ensure that we use what happens with our jobs and our business separately. We really treat our business venture as is if it is not ours. I mean, as simple as pulling up to the pump when we want to fill up, we pay for that. And it's also a good example to set for our staff. Yeah.
Even if our kids, they want a candy bar, they have to pay for it.
Yep, they pay for it, absolutely.
Yeah. The next point we have here is that you have to nurture both relationships. So it's important to ensure that both relationships are thriving, right? Yes. And one relationship should not overshadow the other. One relationship should not be taking so much of your attention that the other one suffers. So it's important to find that balance. And I can tell you that that is definitely not easy. We have not found, I guess the secret sauce
it's a work in progress.
or the solution to that. but it's something that you must be intentional about. It's something that you have to draw the line, draw your barriers, know what your goals are, and know what your limitations are. So again, it's just really important to, nurture both of the relationships, nurture that business relationship, and still, we're married, and it's important to nurture the marriage as well.
I'll give a prime example of what she's talking about. We often travel for business purposes, either for meetings or for shopping purposes. And throughout the day, while we're away, throughout the day, we work really hard and trying to ensure that we get the work done or the meetings done. We lift boxes and do whatever we have to do. But at the end of that day, we also plan a date night,
Yes.
plan downtime and dinner and a movie. And as much work as we do, we always take the time and make the time to ensure that we enjoy each other as well. And I think that helps us in our relationship as well as in the business when we are able to create some sort of balance.
Yes.
Absolutely.
The next point we have is knowing your why. Someone referred to this early on as well, knowing your why and being true to your key. Is that our time? It's key. But knowing your why, that is what is going to keep you going when the times get tough, when the business isn't making the money that you would want to see it making. Knowing your why is what gets you up early in the morning. It's what pushes you to go that extra 1 or 2 hours to make sure that things are running and going smoothly. So make sure that your why is big enough to handle and to push you. It shouldn't be something small. It has to be something big that will continue and sustain you in those hard times.
Absolutely. And just to add to what Aisha is saying, since the opening of Long Day Express, we've been fortunate enough to gain the support of the wider community, particularly Long Day and the entire community of Providenciales. But we've come to realize that our community is really depending on us right now. There are certain things that we must have, certain times that we must have it. Our opening hours, we must be open because there are so many people and other businesses that are depending on the products and services that we offer in order for them to do what they have to do.
Yeah.
So, knowing our why is very important, and that continues to push us and ensure that we continue to follow the right path. Finally, and this is one of the most important, if not the most important thing, in all that we do, we put God first. We seek God in all that we do. We pray together, we fast, we strategize and go to God in prayer for everything before decisions are made. So for us, putting God first is key, and we believe all other things will follow. But that is the end of our short presentation within our time frame, hopefully.
Yeah. So that's us in 10 minutes.
In 10 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, Aisha, no, that definitely wasn't a signal that your time had come to an end. Let's just be clear, because
okay.
We could have taken another 5 to 10 minutes of that. That was absolutely amazing. Put some 4s in the chat. Let them know how much you loved it. The duo, the power couple. And, I've always loved the idea of a power couple, but it's really interesting to see you guys lay it all out. Because we've also always heard that you don't mix business with pleasure, right? So it can go in one bag or the next. So I know
it can definitely work.
It definitely works for us.
So if you, like me, have now been convinced that it can work, and you're thinking to yourself now, maybe I would want to get into business with my husband or wife, drop some thumbs up in the chat to let them know that they've swayed you to start thinking a different way. I look forward to sending some questions your way at the end, so please stick and stay with us. And again, thank you so much for all that you shared. That was beautiful. All right, we're gonna roll right into speaker number 5, who is Melody Smith. She's the founder and CEO of Turks and Caicos Recruitment Group. She has a background in corporate HR with 11 years experience in human resource management. She uses her natural talent to connect with others, and her coaching skills to have an impact in the career development industry. She's an ebook author, she's a John Maxwell certified coach, and she's a member of the Caribbean Society of Human Resource Professionals. And she's gonna share with us 10 golden rules of personal branding. Take it away, Mel.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Omega, for that lovely introduction. I am so happy to be here with you this morning. And I would like to thank Flo and Invest Turks and Caicos for having me here to share our story on personal branding. Just let me get my okay. All right, creating a lucrative personal brand. When there was a time when my husband and I started the conversation on personal branding, we really had no idea what personal branding was all about. I was excited about the logo and the font and what our colors would look like until he asked, what is your message? And I thought, okay, I just have my work cut out for me, because everything that I was looking at was only the visual benefits to our brand. And as time passed, when we started to prepare our message and figure out what our course of services would be, that's when we really found out what personal branding was all about. And so today I'm excited to share 10 tips of what personal branding is all about and what it means for your business. Before I get into the points, I would like to share with you just our personal views on what personal branding is. Personal branding is the process by which we market ourselves. And there are a number of different definitions to personal branding, but at TRG, for us, that is the whole story. So it's important to know what you want and what you have to offer. 10 golden rules to personal branding. Choose your message and stick to it. Figure out your message, figure out your story. Who are you? What do you do that makes you come alive? What is your value proposition? And Sonia just shared with you my value proposition. I use my natural talents to connect with others. And so the more focused your brand is, the easier it is for people to remember who you are. 2, be authentic. Love what you do. Stay true to who you are. Stay true to who you serve, and never be afraid to ask for help. Authenticity is a key ingredient in everything that you do. Stay true to being the best version of you. That is what people is going to connect with. And Walter mentioned this in his presentation as well about authenticity, in which I really love that. Number 3, repeat your story. What is it that defines you? What is it that makes you you? There is power in your story. So talk about what you do so others can connect with you. Arnold and I, we created an About Us page that was simple enough to be memorable, but powerful enough to make the first impression to our customers. And so you have to continue to share your message, and you have to say that over and over again. Once you figure out what that defines you, your brand story should then be woven into everything that you do. Our color is teal and white as our presentation is used. And as you can see, I'm wearing my logo shirt, right? And we make it pop. And so that's the exciting part about it. When you continue to share that message, you'll be that person that they think about. And I'd like to give you an example, because this part is very, very important to me. If a job seeker is seeking employment, or an employer is looking for a candidate, they should automatically think of Turks and Caicos Recruitment Group based on our story put out there and what we have done. And if we're not doing a good job of branding ourselves, then our name won't come up to people who know us. So you need to be constantly talking about who you are and sharing your story. 4, show it to grow it. Know your customers, focus on customer service, grow your team, and support your community. When you love what you do, it shows to the people surrounding you every day. But the key is to keep searching for new opportunities and not being afraid to get creative and test them. But be sure to have measurable results in mind so that you will avoid turning potential growth into severe missteps. And I also like to talk about investing in yourself. Attend summits and conferences, get certifications, get a tribe, connect, and connections really bring clarity. Be a student of you, and that was mentioned before as well. Be a student of you. Number 5, be consistent, establish awareness, build trust, and deliver services effectively and profitably. Wellington spoke about this in his presentation. Whether you are launching, stabilizing, or scaling your business, or determining the course of services or your marketing strategy, you have to recognize the power of consistency. It is very important. Number 6, embrace mistakes and failures. And Walter spoke about this in his presentation as well. It sets the foundation for how you approach everything that you do. It helps you to seek out new perspectives, and it helps you to make better decisions for your business. When you're building a business, a lot of people will offer you advice, but you will never hear, make lots of mistakes, take risks. Failure is information that qualifies you to stand on your story, not in your story. So create a space to own it and then look for the lesson, then make the lesson and move forward. Number 7, be one with your brand. Be intentional. Your message must align with your actions for your brand. Be prepared to do the work required to embedding that brand into your daily actions. You are your brand. And that's not enough to say that you have a mission statement. It's how that mission is coming to life and how it speaks to your customers. Make sure that every detail is in perfect harmony with your brand. So in other words, you have to be the walking, talking representation of your brand. Number 8, be sociable. It boosts your brand awareness. It engages with your network and your followers, and it attracts prospects that would likely become customers. Your connection and sharing what you do is very important in your online and your offline branding. The opportunity to be here today is through an offline branding and building connections. Sharing your vision and where you want to go is a true indication that people do want to help you grow. So every post, every tweet, every drink with associates are opportunities to represent your brand. Number 9, maintain brand relevance. And Walter spoke about this as well. Be distinctively inspired. Be customer-centric. Create, innovate, and engage. Maintain brand relevance. Your uniqueness, not somebody else's uniqueness. Your uniqueness is where you have to build from to continually find ways to engage customers. So give it water, give it time, give it growth. And number 10, leave a legacy. Introduce new innovation and make an impact that stands the test of time. Leaving a legacy means living a legacy. The day-to-day actions of you and your business will be the bricks on which the legacy is built. Define what matters and make sure that you have long-term visions to match it. The vision will become your business guiding light, but again, make an impact that stands the test of time. So our 10 golden rules to personal branding: choose your brand and stick to it. Be authentic. Repeat your story. Show it to grow it. Be consistent. Embrace mistakes and failures. Be one with your brand. Be sociable. Maintain your brand values and leave a legacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mel. Show it to grow it. I love that. I absolutely love that. I'm going to put in a plug for Mel. If you do not follow her on LinkedIn, you need to. If you want to see how it's done, how it's mastered, you definitely want to check her out. Don't forget, she's an ebook author. Connect with her. Figure out how you can get your hands on that. And I like that too, because that digital coin is important. All right. There are so many opportunities out there. And I'm sure that you've just sparked a lot of great thoughts in the minds of our attendees today. So continue dropping those 5s and those thumbs up. Let Mel know that you enjoyed that. We are just at about 12 o'clock, but if you're gonna stick in here with us and give us about another 15 to 20 minutes, let us see some thumbs up, because we want you to stay until the very end. You really don't wanna miss this, because speaker number 6 is very important. If you are, in fact, gonna go ahead and jump into your own business, then you need the coins, okay? Sometimes you need that assistance, you need that startup cash. And so we're gonna bring to you now Cheryl McLaughlin. She is from Invest Turks and Caicos, and she joined the team in March of 2019 as the investment services executive. She's tasked with the management of foreign and domestic investor development related projects. She brings a vast amount of experience in high net worth client account management, maintenance, and compliance to that team. She is currently the acting VP of the Small Business Department, with the mandate of facilitating small businesses and entrepreneurial startups in Turks and Caicos. So she's going to talk to us about how we can get started on our journey to being our own business owners and how Invest TCI can help. Over to you, Cheryl.
Thank you so much, Omega. 1 second, I'm trying to share my screen. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulty. 1 second. It will just be a few more moments. The tech is coming in a second.
All right, no worries at all. What we can do in the meantime is we can talk about some of the great things that we've heard here. If you kind of joined us late and you missed some of what happened in the beginning, I'm just going to drop some nuggets from Mr. Walter Gardner's presentation. Some of those things he shared with us: plan ahead, begin with the end in mind. He also spoke about the fact that you need to think right and be your biggest cheerleader. He spoke about the fact that we all have to keep learning, that you need to become an expert in whatever it is you're endeavoring to do, and also find mentors. Also, we must develop discipline. You have to hustle. And he said something very important that none of us should forget, that the pain of regret lasts a long time and produces nothing but more regret. All right, so you just got to go for it. And he also shared with us that you must be flexible and be willing to embrace failure. Now, Cheryl, I can go on, or you can let me know if you're ready. All right, let's keep it rolling. So then we heard from Wellington, and he spoke about making sacrifices. He spoke about the fact that you can't do it all by yourself, that failure is not an option, okay? We saw someone in the chat, and I loved the comment. They said that they can't be surprised at what Wellington has become, because they remember him really putting a hurting on them in a Monopoly game when they were younger. So apparently he's a Monopoly assassin, And this has been in his blood for a very, very long time. So I'm sure none of us are really surprised to see all of the great things that Wellington is doing. Of course, now he's put out that teaser, dangled that carrot, told us that he's about to scale the business again, but he's not letting us know what's in store. But I'm excited about whatever it is he's endeavoring to do next. Drex will talk to us, of course, about financial literacy and the basics and the best practices with respect to that. And there are a few questions waiting for Drex in the Q&A section. And I'm going to be looking forward to hearing the answers to those questions. And then the Laportes shared with us that sometimes 2 wallets and 2 heads are better than one. That you have to, if you are in business with your life partner, nurture both relationships. You have to take the time and make the time to enjoy each other as well as putting in that hard work. That work-life balance is very important. And that you also have to make sure that your why is big enough to push you. And they said that the secret sauce to all of this for them is, of course, that they pray together. They put it all at the Lord's feet. They strategize together. And they say that if you put God first, all other things will fall into place. And then Mel shared with us that you have to be a student of you. You have to be consistent. You have to build trust and deliver your services efficiently and profitably. And also, you have to be social. And you need to take all opportunities to make sure that you are, in fact, representing and sharing your brand. So many great takeaways there. I hope that you've been able to latch on to most of them. Cheryl, are you ready? I see your screen, but you're muted. All right, I think we've got a couple more minutes before she's sorted. So let's get into some of these questions. And can I ask Walter, can you open your microphone and your camera for me? Let me know that you're there. Are you with me, Walter?
Yes, I'm with you, Omega.
Great, great. So here's a question for you. Someone wants to know, is it also beneficial, and this is around the time when you were talking about finding those mentors and how you should find 2 of them. And someone wants to know, is it also beneficial to speak with persons who failed in their business ventures because they may be able to highlight what went wrong? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the more information you can get, the better. And yes, I fully agree because, again, failure is an opportunity for learning. So even if someone has failed in something, it's important for you to speak to them and get the information from them because it can help you to avoid some of those pitfalls.
Great, thank you for that. One more for you. Have you noticed any difference in the path to entrepreneurship between now and years past? You know, you came on here talking about cassette tapes. Some people in the chat are probably like, yeah, really, what are those? And so of course, you know, the question here is whether or not there's anything that you think should be done differently, you know, based on the time that we're in now. What advice can you give to those who are maneuvering the climb to success in the present market?
Well, I think the opportunities now are a lot more than what I had when I first started to become an entrepreneur. The world is smaller. You can do so many things now on the internet with Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. It's truly amazing. But what I would say is that the basic disciplines are lacking, you know, the fundamentals. So again, you know, it's important that we're disciplined. It's important that we're patient. It's important that we nurture relationships with other people and not just, you know, those, the relationships that we have in the cyber world. You know, the contacts are very, very important. Like in my business, I get a lot of business from repeat and referral clients. So if I do a good job for a client, then the word goes around and they send other clients to me. So, and what's also lacking nowadays too, and I tell my agents this all the time, don't just send an email. Pick up the phone and speak with your client. what I did a lot when we were on lockdown was that I picked up my phone and I would call at least 5 clients every day just to check on them. And it is amazing the results that I got. They were so appreciative. I didn't call to sell them anything. I just called them to check on them. And they appreciated that. And they're still, you know, talking about it and still sending me other clients. So relationships are paramount. Use all of the tools that you have right now at your disposal, but don't forget about the fundamentals of being successful in business.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And one more question before we check back in with Cheryl. You also spoke about, again, the mentors and how it's really valuable to look for those mentors to help you along the way. And so, are you open to being a mentor to someone out there, or do you already provide mentorship to anyone that is looking as a young person to move into the field that you're in? All right, I think we may have lost Walter. All right, so we'll save that one for when he gets back on. Cheryl, a quick check.
I'm back.
Oh, yeah. Did you catch that question, Walter?
You said something about mentor, then it cut off.
Yes, so wondering, do you already currently mentor individuals who are trying to get into the field that you're in, or are you open to that?
Well, I do mentor all of my agents, and yes, some people who don't even work with me frequently call on me for advice and direction. And also people who are in different businesses, they still would come to me and ask for, you know, assistance, which I'm, you know, happy to give because, you know, everyone deserves an opportunity. And it's very important that, you know, you can learn a lot. What I also like to say is that you can learn a lot from reading. If someone has spent 40 years of their life being successful in something, they'll write a book. And you can grab all of that knowledge from those 40 years, probably.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, Walter. Cheryl,
Really?
are you ready for us? We can see your PowerPoint. Okay, and we can also see you now.
Thank you. Happy National Youth Day, and thank you to all of the attendees for joining us. I have the pleasure today of advising on how Invest TCI via the MSME program can assist you in your business. I hope that you find the session to be informative and are inspired by the content enough to reach out to us at Invest Turks and Caicos for assistance in making your entrepreneurial dreams a reality. The Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprise Programs makes provision for the government to provide concession orders to qualifying locally owned small businesses operating in an identified priority
Okay, I think Cheryl may be having some technical difficulties still. Can you guys please indicate if you can hear me? Just drop some ones in the chat if I'm on, so that we know that it's maybe just her side and not the entire. Okay, great. Thank you for that. Thank you. All right, we're gonna jump right back into some more questions. We'll see if she'll be able to get back up within another 2 to 3 minutes. But in the meantime, if I can get Wellington to come on camera and to open up your microphone. Are you with me, Wellington?
Yeah.
All right, great. What was the most challenging stage with starting your business?
Um, well, because I was already a child entrepreneur, it wasn't really difficult starting the business because I had already figured out what can work. But I did have difficulty with transport. So, like, I would be catching a jitney from community college to Fish Fry with a big suitcase and my table, you know? Or when I had to go do another setup, I would have to catch a jitney. I would always have to catch a jitney or try to get a ride. And that was a big challenge for me. And, you know, eventually I was able to get my license and get a vehicle. And then that made life so much easier because I was catching jitney to deliver products to stores as well. So it really was a true hustle. I think that was the most difficult part, but I got over it because I eventually purchased a vehicle and I kept going.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Now that's definitely, that's a hustle. That's hustle, that's determination. Another question for you. Someone wants to know how you went about searching for your team and how did you determine who was the best choice?
It was, so first, I would love to have people that can join my team that I can use their already known skills and knowledge to potentially make my team better and themselves better. But then again, if you have this ego or you can't be teachable or, you know, you think you know it all, more than likely I wouldn't hire you. I would prefer to hire the personality and then I can teach you. Now, it's up to you if you think it makes sense for you or not, you know? Jewelry making can be very tedious at the very beginning stages because at the end of the day, they have to follow certain procedures and protocols so that they can make sure it's consistent, just like we offer to everybody. But usually when someone is already artistic, they usually fit into my team right away.
Okay.
Because they understand. People who are artistic, they can understand right away, okay, let me just figure it out from here because I already know the fundamentals. So it'll be easier to teach them, and then they are creative. So eventually when they're ready to learn how to do things that we do, then there's open space for them to try to see if they can create things for the business, you know, for the company. And it has happened in one scenario where one of our teammates has created something for the team, and it had worked for a certain period of time.
Okay, wonderful. I like what you said there about the fact that, you know, obviously if they come with the right personality and they're the right fit in terms of that side of things, you can always teach them the other side. But you definitely can't teach someone to represent your brand the way that you would want them to. So they have to come with at least that. They have to have the right spirit, the right disposition. So that's very, very important.
Another thing, you know, sometimes when it comes to, I'm just saying what it is really, when it comes to Turks and Caicos Islanders and you're offering a pay, many times they think that the pay is not enough. But also you have to remember that you're just getting into a company. You don't know what to do. We're teaching you absolutely everything. And so you have to get into the business, learn, and then it will grow. You can't just come and dictate what you would like to have. When I worked at the West Bay Club, I was a personal concierge and I was getting paid minimum wage. I was fresh from school. Fine, no problem. But what I did was I used things that I had to my advantage was that I could have made tips, I could have made commissions, and that's exactly what I did. My personality and my social skills, I felt like I wasn't working because literally I was going to work and talking with people, and that is something that I love to do. And I was making tips because I was making sure that I served them with all I had. And I was making commissions because almost absolutely everything that I had recommended, they agreed to it because they already realized from the very first moment that they met me that, look, they can trust me. I have a really good personality, and it was a breeze. And so I left West Bay Club for my business, but I feel like I wouldn't have leave if I didn't go to do my business. This is the only reason why I left, because I love to do. I even have dreams of me working in the hotel, speaking with guests. I'm like, no, focus on your work.
Nice. Thank you for sharing all of that. Thank you so much, Wellington. Trexwell, can I get you to open up your microphone and come on camera for us? And just to let all of the attendees know, we're still working with Cheryl on getting her presentation going. I'm going to throw one question Drex's way, and then we'll give Cheryl an opportunity to try again. Drex, are you with me?
I'm here.
Great. First question for you. What percentage of income do you recommend young people save? How much should be in savings? And should you also have a separate emergency fund?
Yes, great question. It depends on the young person, whether they are staying with their parents or on the apartment. If they're staying with their parents, I believe they should at least try to save at least 20 to 30% of their savings. Of course, they should still give their parents something for staying in their home, but I don't think it will be the same price as paying rent. Now, if you are on your own, then I think you should aim to at least save 10% on a monthly basis. And I do believe that you should have a separate fund. You should have an emergency fund, and you should also have different savings fund. In fact, what I would recommend is that you have a savings fund for different goals. If you want to go on a vacation and you want to go, you have a savings fund vacation. If you want to buy a car, you have a savings fund for a vehicle. So it depends on your goals.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that. Don't go too far. I have a few other questions for you, but Cheryl seems to be ready. We want to make sure that we get Invest TCI in here because they're very important. They're an important cog in the wheel. They're going to provide these up-and-coming entrepreneurs with the opportunity to get a jump start with funding. So Cheryl, are you back with us?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you well. Great.
Okay. How can Invest TCI help? The Micro, Small, Medium Enterprise Program makes provision for the government to provide concession orders to qualifying locally owned small businesses operating in an identified priority business sector. The concession order allows the company or startup access to specific benefits, namely cash grants, customs duty reduction, and/or technical assistance depending on the size of the business. The program is managed by Invest Turks and Caicos, who is responsible for determining eligibility to receive concessions or grants, as well as the disbursement of those grants. The program provides a value of up to $30,000 in support for micro enterprises, of value up to $35,000 for small enterprises, and up to $110,000 for medium enterprises. Program benefits and reliefs. The MSME program provides to qualifying small businesses access to benefits such as a cash grant, technical assistance, and customs duty reductions depending on the size of the project. As a micro enterprise, the business will have access to a cash grant up to $10,000, customs duty reduction up to $10,000, and technical assistance up to $10,000. For small enterprise, it's customs duty reduction up to $25,000 and technical assistance up to $10,000. And lastly, for medium enterprise, customs duty reduction up to $10,000 and technical assistance up to $10,000. As you will note, the cash grant is only available to the micro enterprise, and the amount for customs duty reduction varies depending on the size of the project. The technical assistance remains the same across all three categories. Program classifications. To assist us to classify projects as either a micro, small, or medium enterprise, we look for these attributes in the business plan or proposal that forms part of the application package submitted to Invest TCI. For a project to be classified as a micro enterprise, it must meet two of the criteria listed below. Not more than 5 employees, not more than 500,000 in net assets, not more than 250,000 in annual turnover. For a project to be classified as a small enterprise, it must meet two of the following criteria. Not less than 6 employees, but not more than 19. Not more than $1 million in net assets, and not more than $1 million in annual turnover. Lastly, for a project to be classified as a medium enterprise, it must meet 3 of the criteria listed below. Not less than 20 employees, but more than 25. Not more than $2.5 million in net assets, not more than $2.5 million in annual turnover, and has been in operation for a minimum of 10 years. Cash grant and customs duty reductions. The cash grant is geared toward the startup and procurement of equipment for the approved project. Reduction of payment of custom import duties can be used for capital equipment, including building, materials, furniture, furnishings, fixtures, fittings, appliances, tools, plant, machinery, and equipment, excluding motor vehicles for the use in the construction of the project. Reduction of payment of custom import duties can also be used for raw materials and spare parts required for the initial 90 days of the operation of the approved project. Please note that the benefits exempt the project from import duties only, meaning the customs processing fee of 7.5% is to be paid by the project owner. Technical assistance. Recipients of the technical assistance grants are required to pay 50% of the cost owing to the supplier of the service. The grant covers the development of product design. An example would be if you have a prototype and you want to develop it into a product for resale. It can also be used for the development of package and labeling design, where you require the services of a graphic designer to create a design for the labels or for your packaging. Another use is to assist with the preparation of a business plan. Although we provide guidance to the CED with business plans, applicants have the option to seek outside help for this, and the program would contribute towards the service once the technical assistance has been approved for the project. Technical assistance can also be used for general or production management. If you are new to managing and operating a business, technical assistance can be applied to assist with training in business management or record keeping. If you need to hire the services of an accountant or bookkeeper to ensure that the records are being kept properly, the TA can also be utilized for this as well. You may ask the question, who is eligible to apply? The answer is any small businesses owned or controlled by Turks and Caicos Islanders whose activity is within one of the priority areas which we will address in the next slide. The priority areas include agriculture, and the subsectors are market gardening, hydroponics, farms, livestock and dairy development, agribusiness, apiculture. Fisheries, the subsectors include fish farming and fish processing. Manufacturing, processing and commercial cleaning services, tourism, physical infrastructure, technology and innovation, arts and music. How do I apply? To apply, we request that you attend an MSME program general information session. This session is basically a one-on-one consultation and can be done face-to-face or via telephone. Complete the application, which can now be completed and submitted via our portal located on our website. The related documents can also be uploaded to this portal. The mentioned documents referred to are the business plan and financial projections, a business license or proof of license application, or the intention to obtain a license, proof of belonger status, shareholder registers and statements confirming your net assets, and annual turnover, payment of the non-refundable application fee of $25. Processing stages. We ask that applications be submitted to us on or before the 15th of each month. The applications are then reviewed by the MSME Advisory Committee for recommendation. The recipients are notified of the status of their application 7 days after the committee meeting. The recommendations are then forwarded to the Minister of Finance for approval of the concession order. Disbursement of the benefits are processed based on the request of the recipients and can be processed via direct payment to the supplier or reimbursement to the business. Monitoring and inspection. Once a concession order has been approved, the business will be required to provide quarterly reports for a period of 5 years. As a result, it is imperative that the recipient maintain proper records. Some of the program's success stories are Caicos Tea Company, TCI Junkanoo Museum, Ocean Breeze Laboratories, Flamingo's Nest, Beach Share Extensions, TCI Coffee Roasters, Island Organics, J&D Cleaning Services, TCI Laser Engraving. Thank you so much for your time, and please feel free to contact us on 338-4772 or 338-4779. And also you can contact us on info@investturksandcaicos.tc.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. Thank you. I'm so glad that we were able to get those technical issues worked out, because that was great information and very, very important, I'm sure, to everyone in attendance. You've certainly clarified a lot of the points about the program. I do encourage all of you who are still on and listening, if you have questions you want to ask Cheryl before we end this session, if there was something in there that you didn't see that you're hoping the program does provide assistance with, or if there were just some points that were not laid out in depth enough for you and you do have more questions, you still have an opportunity to pose a few more in the Q&A section. And we are going to say that we want you to drop some 6s in the chat for Cheryl if you did in fact find that information appealing. And also, of course, we want to say that that brings us to the end of our panelists. I hope that you are thoroughly enjoying this. I certainly am. And we do want to thank all of you who have stayed with us past the 12 p.m. mark. I want to say also that you do want to stick around until the end, because there are 1 or 2 surprises that Flo has coming your way. All right. Now, before we end it all, we want to jump back into the Q&A session. so that we can get an opportunity for some more of your questions to be answered. So I want to bring our power couple on, Jermaine and Aisha. Drex, I do still have some questions for you, but I'm going to toss them your way in just a bit. Jermaine and Aisha, microphone on, camera on. Let me know when you're with me.
We're here.
We're here.
Great, great. Okay, so someone says, I constantly struggle between the decision to start a business and focus on my business only, or to keep my full-time job while starting a business. Which do you recommend, given that both of you have full-time jobs, even though you have a successful business? And they also want to know, how has keeping your jobs benefited you while having your business?
Well, first thing I would like to say is that they have to assess their individual situation. For us, both of us, as we mentioned earlier, have full-time jobs. I've actually been employed at my, as I mentioned in the bio, for almost 20 years now. And I've found that, and it's simply because of the organization that I work for, it allowed me time to focus on my own business. I have a very good working relationship with my bosses and my colleagues. And it allowed me, the job particularly allowed me the time to be creative and seeking our business venture. So for me, it was a benefit. But we always knew, Aisha and I always knew that we wanted to be entrepreneurs together. We both come from a long line of entrepreneurs. Parents and grandparents on both sides are entrepreneurs, and it's kind of in our bloodline. So we knew that it's something that we wanted to do. But what we tried to do was to try to find the right balance in doing that. Now, I must say as well that for us, because we still work full time, it was important for us to find the right staff. We can't be at our businesses all the time, every time. So it's super important to be able to find the right people that know what your values are and can carry out your values, can communicate with your customers. And that is key. If you're not going to be in your business yourself, you have to be able to find people, hire people that will be able to reflect who you are and what you want to be able to display.
Yeah. And just to add to that, the person that asked that question, I really think it is a personal assessment that would have to be made. Draxwell spoke earlier about doing, or maybe it was Walter who spoke about doing a business plan and projecting the needs of the business. And you also have to do that personally. So once you combine those two and you look at, both plans and what will be required, then you'll be better able to assess, do you need the business as well as maintaining your full-time job. And a lot of people, I think, do make that mistake. As soon as they, start the business, they resign from their job, and that may not be the best thing to do.
Absolutely. I mean, we've been open for 5 years now, and we still hold down our full-time jobs, in part because we have great staff.
And we enjoy what we do.
And we enjoy what we do at work, but in part because we have goals for our business, and we're not. What we were able to do was kind of set up our business to run the way we would like it to run. And at this point, it doesn't require us being there full time. So like Aisha said, that person should want to do a personal assessment as well as a business assessment to determine what works best for them. But currently, this is how it's working for us. I mean, we don't see ourselves working for the institutions that we work for forever. But we do have a plan and a goal in place, and we're working towards that. Even though we do have our own business, we are still working towards a goal.
Okay, great. One more question for you both. What helps to improve your communication with one another?
Well, I mean, we genuinely like each other. We actually like to spend time together.
I think he's just a natural talker anyway. I think we're just natural talkers.
Yeah, we enjoy spending time with one another. Communication is really easy with us, honestly speaking. We enjoy doing some of the same things, and because of that, communication is easy. And we're just simple. We're very simple, and it works. It works for us, you know. So for anyone listening, find that space that works for you and your partner or your wife or husband or whomever. And once you're able to find that space, then whatever works for you is what you should go after.
Great. Someone wants you to know that they admire the way you behave with your business, that you pay for your own gas at your gas station.
It's a must.
Someone else mentioned also that the staff that you have is very polite and helpful. So
Thank you very much. Thank you very
much. And also to the individual that asked that particular question, Wellington has weighed in and has said he totally agrees with what they have shared here, that he didn't up and leave his job until he could survive as a self-employed individual. And someone else is saying that another point is keeping your full-time job allows your business to grow without you, the owner, stagnating it by drawing a salary. All right. So thank you.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
We really do enjoy this engagement, you guys. Keep the comments coming. Thank you so much, Jermaine and Aisha. I want to bring Mel on camera, please. Let me know when you're with me.
Hello.
Hi. So Melanie, someone says that they are currently launching their business in maintenance and they want to know how they can reach big customers.
Okay. First, I would say, again, you have to show it to grow it. And business cards, pamphlets, and you have to get out there and share your story. Because if you don't, no one else will.
All right,
Simple.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. And with respect to, we know that you are obviously showing exactly how that works.
Yeah.
Because your brand is now, it's very visible. It's very easily recognizable.
Mm-hmm.
So that consistency is there. Your brand message is very clear. Do you do consultation for people who are looking to venture out?
I do a lot of consultations, and one of them is mainly career mapping, right? Because if persons seem as if they are lost in an area that they have interest in, then I would walk them through the process of how to get there more so. Even in my case, I had a very solid employer, but my business idea was calling me as well, right? And I was not able to offer the entire cake more so being on the job. And so I took a leap of faith, right? And I know Wellington had mentioned earlier, making sure that he was stabilized before moving. But my faith was bigger than that, right? And I decided that after much conversation with my husband, and I'm grateful to him too, that he came on board, because when you're making a decision like that as well, your family matters in all of the decision that you make, because it is your dream, but then they become part of that dream. And so I had to remember them. And, you know, it was a huge discussion. And the only time when he asked me, what is your message? That is what made me really do my homework, right? And so now that I'm out there, I don't miss a day of sharing something about Turks and Caicos Recruitment Group, so that persons know we are there. And I said earlier, if they are not calling us, it means that we're not doing a good job at branding. And so the visual side of branding is the easy part, getting a logo, getting your font ready, and all of that. And for me, I was hyped about that part, which was the easy part, right? But my message out there to have persons coming in. And I'd like to share more so how important that is, even in this time that we're in now. Where I see more local, and I mean, all of us are important, but pertinent company, right, is now calling. And when I say you are your brand or you be your brand, the brand is literally speaking for itself right now, right? And I have fished in the local pond 2.5 years now, but Turks and Caicos recruitment group has gone global, right? Right, and we have international seekers who are even looking to employ here in Turks and Caicos. And so our email is, full every day. And I'm grateful because it shows the time that I put in. And when I talk about consistency, I create content every night for tomorrow. I don't go to bed unless my content is ready, even if it's 1 a.m. And so consistency, you have to be inspired by what you do, love what you do, and your customers would follow, because if you don't show up, they won't show up. Yeah. And so that's very important.
So true. So true. Thank you so much for that, Mel. Let's roll right on over to Drex. Come back on camera. I've got 2 quick questions for you. We want to try to get all of these questions in, but also be very cognizant of the time that people have already spent with us. Hint, hint, really quickly, okay? So first one, wondering if you provide internships for persons who are interested in going into accounting, and if so, what age range would be accepted?
I do provide internship. In fact, when I started the company HLB, all the employees that I hired were persons that I trained from scratch. I prefer having internship with persons who already graduated with a degree in accounting. However, if there are persons who graduate from high school and wants to pursue accounting, they're welcome to reach out to me, and we could probably have a discussion if they want to understand and work along with me until they go to college. I mean, that is an option as well, but mostly it's geared towards persons who already have a degree. It's easy for me, and also from the client's point of view, when they know you have a client, when you know they have someone who has a degree. They don't have to be certified, but as long as they have a degree. But what we can do is have someone who graduated from high school, and they can work from the office without even going to the client. So it is open, yes, I could do that.
Okay, great. And how did you get over worrying about what other people thought about you and your financial position?
I mean, growing up, I want to make sure I understand the question correctly. But growing up, I don't know, I think it's our culture where we worry so much about what people think about you, whether you're in a good financial position or not. And then I reach a point in my life where I realize, people are going to talk about you anyway, no matter what you have or what you don't have. So I reach a point where I just reach that level where I really don't care what people think or say about me. And so you have to reach that point where you are living your life to achieve your goals and not trying to please others. So because no matter what you do, people will have something to say about you. So it's best that you live your life to make your dream become a reality. Otherwise, you'll be looking over your shoulders, wondering what people are saying about you. You might end up making the wrong decisions because you're concerned about people saying about you, because you're trying to please people and trying to live this life of what they expect of you. So it's best you just live your life and be you.
Yes, I love those. I love those words, and I love that sentiment. Thank you so much. We're going to bring Wellington back on camera. Let me know when you're with me, Wellington.
Here.
Yay. So do you have any programs or are you open to anything that will allow younger children to learn the art of jewelry making?
So I do go to schools, and I do volunteer my time at the youth center to teach people how to make jewelry, children how to make jewelry and stuff like that, or more so how to upcycle and recycle things that we usually have on island and people take for trash or we don't treasure into something that can actually be made into a product. But as the new male youth ambassador of the Turks and Caicos, my platform is focusing a lot on the arts and culture of Turks and Caicos. So along with the Department of Youth, I will definitely be working on teaching youth of the Turks and Caicos more about our culture and how we can brand their skills and talents into an official product where they can potentially make it where they'll be compensated for what they do, because at the end of the day, I was able to brand my talent and make it into something that I do every day now.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. We're going to roll over to Walter. Can I get you back on camera, please? So just about 4 more questions, everyone, and then we're going to close out. Let me know when you're on, Walter. Is Walter still with us?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
So a quick question for you. Someone says that they recently started their own business, providing a service, but they're having a hard time finding new clients, especially because of the pandemic. And they want to know what you think are some of the best ways to seek new clients.
Well, in sales, we call it prospecting. So I would tell her that she has to focus on what's called her sphere of influence. So that's everybody that she knows. So she is to contact everybody that she knows and let them know that she is in this kind of business, and also ask them if they know of anyone who could become a future client of hers. And, you know, also use the best practices, you know, just spread the word of on Facebook, Instagram, just get the word out.
Right.
Did she say what type of business it is?
No, they didn't say what type of business.
Yeah, so I would also encourage that they offer some sort of incentive, like, you know, giving a discount for people to try it. So then once they try it, and if it's good, then they'll go ahead and, you know, get it again from her. But I would just encourage her to just utilize all of her resources and the people that she knows. Because honestly, a lot of us already have our market right here. It's just that we don't tap into that market. And it doesn't cost anything to call someone and ask them to try a product or service or something like that.
So true, so true. Thank you so much for that. And we're going to end the question and answer period with some questions for Invest TCI. Cheryl, are you still on with us? Cheryl, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you well now. Thank you so much. So a few questions for you. Is the cash grant available for e-commerce or online-based businesses?
Yes, yes, it is. It has to be, the e-commerce business has to also be in line with one of the priority areas. Yes.
Okay. Another question is whether or not you have to wait until your business license is approved before applying.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
You have to wait until your business license is approved before applying.
No. Once we have the majority of information, that can be utilized to present to the committee for review, and a decision can be made based on the majority of information that was presented. And then once you get your official business license, then you will be able to access the benefits.
Okay, great. Now, does the program assist, does Invest TCI assist music programs?
I would need more information pertaining to what she's talking about in regards to music programs. If the individual wanted to start a band, then yes, but she would have to explain further about what she means by musical programs.
Okay, all right. And of course, you've provided that contact information, and we will be sharing this information afterwards with all attendees as well. So whomever it was that posed that question, you can get some more information from Cheryl after. Are there any penalties for not providing timely reporting during the 5 years?
We understand that from time to time, there may be difficulties in for the recipients to provide us with their reports. However, if the recipient does not have a valid reason, then that recipient will be inclined to repay the grant that we have provided them with.
Okay. And a final question slash suggestion. Will any consideration be given to other areas such as medical tourism related businesses, or should I just forward my business plan and go from
Okay, you are going in and out. Can you say that again?
So the person wants to know if there's going to be any consideration given to other areas such as medical tourism related businesses, or should they just forward their business plan and go from there?
Okay, at this current time under the MSME program, there's no consideration made for it under the current priority areas. However, we still advise recipients to provide us with their proposals, which is still brought to the committee. And that information, even though it may not be in line with the priority areas, they still utilize that information to reassess the areas. So I would advise the recipient to still provide me with the information, and I would still bring it before the board for consideration.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of our attendees for your questions. I believe that anything that wasn't already covered by the panelists, through you asking those important questions, you've allowed them to share even more with everyone else. And so we are now at the end. And just before you sign off, we want you to stick around because we're going to bring back to the microphone the country manager for Flow. And Joanne is going to share some exciting news with us today. And then I'm going to also bid you farewell. So hang in there.
Thank you. What a wonderful lineup of speakers, the energy of the attendees, over 150 attendees. It was electrifying. So we want to do this again. We want to bring you more speakers, more stories, and resources for you to make your own dreams come true. That's right, you're hearing me correctly. We are bringing you Igniting Your Entrepreneurial Talents, Part 2. Stay tuned to social media pages, switch to Flow for regular SMS updates, and on the next event, and all of the great promotions that we have in store for you. But I would like to take the opportunity as country manager for Flow Turks and Caicos to say, first of all, to our partner, Invest TCI, for your wonderful support, great vision. To our extraordinary host, Omega, awesome job. We also would like to thank the amazing speakers. I was beaming with pride. Amazing. We are grateful to each of you. And to you attendees, this would not be possible without you. You stayed all the way through, and we appreciate that. I will reiterate a few things. Be consistent, read daily, adapt your skills, pursue your dreams, bring your amazing. Enjoy the rest of your holiday. Happy Youth Day 2020. Over to you, Omega.
Thank you so much. So now I'm beaming because throughout this entire period, I've been thinking they have to do this again. So to have the announcement that there's going to be a part 2, I'm very excited for that. Thank you so much to Flo and to Invest TCI for choosing me to moderate this session. I want to ask all of the panelists to open your cameras and to get ready to say farewell to these amazing attendees that have spent this time with us today. Before you leave us, we do want to say, and I want to echo what Joanne has said, you are amazing for staying with us this entire time, for taking this time during your holiday to join in on this session. I hope that you leave this session feeling so inspired, but I don't want you to just leave it right there. Take the inspiration and actually do something with it, okay? Don't just listen to all of these great things that have been shared and get on a high and then let it fall. You got to do something with it. And if you're an entrepreneur at heart, you have to chase those dreams. There is a friend of mine that has this profile picture up, but it's not really a picture. It's a saying. And I like that they don't ever take it down. And it says, move in silence, only speak when it's time to say checkmate. And I thought about that when Wellington was giving his presentation. And also, I implore you to make sure that you make each day count toward your end game. Reach out to those people you need to reach out to get even more information and to get more assistance. No man or woman is an island. Please, let's decide to be the community that we know we can be. Reach out for help when you need it. Don't be shy. And in kind, give help where you can, all right? So we encourage you to go forth and be successful. To Darren Hilaire, y'all please drop some D's in the chat and let Darren know that you've seen him, seen the comments he's been sharing, that even though he's not been on screen today, he's definitely done an awesome job in the background.
Darren is a boss.
Exactly. We're always excited for whatever Darren brings our way. And I want to thank Darren specifically also for giving me the invitation to moderate today. So from the panelists, from Flo, from Invest TCI, from the Honorable Karen Malcolm, and from your girl Omega, we are bidding you farewell. Panelists, say goodbye to everyone.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Thank you all.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Happy National Youth Day to you all. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Awesome. Thank you.